far to the east. The storm finally abated on February 12th, but it wasn't until the 15th that the two ships rendezvoused at sea and made their way back to Tripoli. That night, Captain Stephen Decatur, the squadron commander, convened a war council aboard the plucky little Intrepid. Henry Lafayette, along with 8 heavily armed seamen, rowed over to join him. Henry was tall, with the slender build of a master fencer. His eyes were so dark they appeared black, and in the native garb he had donned as a disguise, he cut as dashing a figure as the legendary pirate they hoped to face one day, Suleiman al-Jama. Born in Quebec, Lafayette had crossed into Vermont as soon as he turned 16. He wanted to be part of America's experiment in democracy and became an American citizen. He joined the Navy after a decade working the timber schooners of Lake Champlain. At the council, it was decided that the Americans would attack Tripoli as soon as was practicable. Another night would pass before the winds picked up enough for the Intrepid to make her approach on Tripoli. Through a brass telescope, Decatur and Lafayette watched the walled city slowly emerge from the vast trackless desert. Spread along the high defensive wall, and sprouting from the ramparts of the Bashaw's palace were more than 150 guns. Because of the seawall, called the Mole, which stretched across the anchorage, they could only see the Philadelphia's 3 masts above their fighting tops. The American attack proceeded without a hitch, with only token resistance from the Arab sailors. Slipping into Tripoli harbor under the cover of night, the Yankee seamen boarded the Philadelphia, beat back its crew, and set the ship ablaze. Returning to the safety of their vessels, the Americans stood by the gunwales, watching the Philadelphia burn. Minutes later, the raging towers that were the Philadelphia's masts slowly collapsed across her port side in an explosion of sparks. And then, as a final salute, her guns cooked off, an echoing cannonade that sent some balls across the water and others into the defensive walls. The men roared at her act of defiance against the Barbary pirates. "What now, Captain?" Lafayette asked. Decatur stared across the sea, not looking at Henry when he spoke. "This won't end tonight. I recognized one of the Corsairs in the harbor. It was Suleiman al-Jama's. She's called the Sucker. You can bet your last penny that he's making ready to sail against us this very moment. The Bashaw won't take vengeance on our captured sailors for what we did tonight. They're too valuable to him. But al-Jama will want revenge." "He was once a holy man, right?" "Up until a few years ago," Decatur agreed. "He was what the Muslims called an imam, kind of like a priest. Such was his hate for Christendom that he decided preaching wasn't enough, and he took up arms against any and all shipping not flying a Muslim flag. I heard tell that he takes no prisoners." "I've heard the same. The Bashaw can't be too happy about that, since prisoners can be ransomed, but he holds little sway over al-Jama. The Bashaw made a deal with the devil when he let al-Jama stage out of Tripoli. I've also heard he has no end of volunteers to join him when he goes out on raiding parties. His men are suicidal in their devotion to him." "Your rank-and-file Barbary pirate sees what they are doing as a profession, a way to make a living. It is something they've been doing for generations. You saw tonight how most of them fled the Philadelphia as soon as we boarded. They weren't going to get themselves killed in a fight they couldn't win. But al-Jama's followers are a different breed altogether. This is a holy calling for them. They even have a word for it, jihad. They will fight to the death if it means they can take one more infidel with them." "Why do you think they hate us?" he asked. Decatur looked at him sharply. "Lieutenant Lafayette, they hate us because we exist. They hate us because we are different from them. But most importantly, they hate us because they think they have the right to hate us." Henry remained silent for a minute, trying to digest Decatur's answer, but such a belief system was so far beyond him, he couldn't get his mind around it. "What are your orders, Captain?" he finally asked. "The Intrepid's no match for the Sucker, especially as overcrowded as we are. We'll link up with the Siren. I want